chair. The headline is going to read, Troy Anthony Davis died hungry. A last meal is not for me, but you're here for me, and I'm here for you. You see, there are a lot of people who think that I killed that cop. And ever since then, I've sat in one chair or another, watching myself, outside myself, watching the system work its wheels. How well do you think the system works? It really depends on which chair you sit in. The whole thing began with this chair, Bert. That's where an off-duty cop named Mark McPhail was working. When Sylvester Red Coles was bugging out over a beer from a homeless guy. Now, I should have left right then and there, but I ran with Coles. And when Officer McPhail tried to help that homeless guy, I ran all the way to Atlanta. Officer McPhail was shot dead. So while I'm in Atlanta, Red comes back and he meets with the district attorney and he blames me. He sat right here in this chair and he blames me, even though he was seen carrying a .38 revolver, the same one that shot Officer McPhail. And even though he had been seen showing that gun around earlier at a party. So, I was arrested and put on trial. You seen that movie, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil? Same courthouse, same bench, same chairs. In my trial, they put 9 witnesses in the witness chair to testify against me. You would think that would be a slam dunk, right? You'd be right. On August 21st, 1991, I was convicted and sentenced to death. But there's just one problem. Of those 9 witnesses, 7 recanted and swore that the police coerced them into telling that I was the shooter. They threatened to send a 16-year-old kid to jail for life if he didn't finger me. They threatened to send another woman back to jail if she didn't testify their way. And once she was free, she swore I was not the shooter. The police have not denied doing this. In fact, 3 witnesses have sworn statements that Red told them that he did it. Now, the men who prosecuted me, they told an appeals court that the new evidence did not matter, that it was too late to present it, that whether I was innocent or not, I received a fair trial and my sentence should be carried out. Now, you know, under Herrera versus Collins, technically, they're right. Justice Windquist, he sat in his very chair and he proclaimed as much. He said that actual innocence claims would clog up the courts and that new evidence did not provide a legitimate reason to give someone a new trial. Now, if you look at the future of the Windquist court, Justice O'Connor's chair is just to the right of Windquist. And so it was with this decision, too. She wrote that the issue before us is, as the court notes, whether a fairly convicted and therefore legally guilty person is constitutionally entitled to yet another judicial proceeding in which to adjudicate his guilty 10 years after conviction, notwithstanding his failure to demonstrate that constitutional error infected his trial.
Let's make this very clear.
Say again?
Let's make this very clear.
Let's make this very clear. What Justice O'Connor is saying is, as long as you can argue that the trial was fair, whether you actually did it or not, doesn't matter one bit. Red never recanted his testimony, and neither did Steve Sanders. Now, Steve Sanders is the one who identified me in court. But the day after McPhail's murder, he said he would not be able to identify the shooter. two occasions. Now, the first one was July 16, 2007, when at the last minute, the Georgia Board of Pardons and Parole, they delayed my execution by 90 days. The second time, I was less than 2 hours from dying. You see, September 27, 2008, the United States Supreme Court was going to consider whether my Eighth Amendment rights had been violated. So, the state attorney and the warden decided to kill me September 23rd instead. They were getting me ready when the Supreme Court server had to force their way in to serve notice that the United States Supreme Court had issued a stay of my execution. Now, at the time, the Supreme Court decided against me. But nothing gets the justices up out of the seats faster than when people try to usurp their authority. So my execution date was then set for October 28th. Now, in the meantime, the European Parliament, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, President Jimmy Carter, they all said that executing me without even looking at the new evidence would be a sin against humanity. Former FBI Director William Sessions wrote that there is no more serious violent crime than the murder of an off-duty police officer who put his life on the line to protect innocent bystanders. That being said, we must be convinced that the right person has been convicted. It would be intolerable to execute an innocent man. Now, Director Sessions, he likes the death penalty. But you know, the FBI, they like to get the right man. So the Court of Appeals, sitting in Atlanta, again denied my petition, citing procedural grounds. They said that their discretion was curtailed by federal law. But finally, the Roberts Court, with both Rehnquist and O'Connor both retired, they sat at the bench and issued a decision that they haven't made in 50 years. They charged the federal courts to receive testimony and make findings of fact as to whether evidence that could not have been obtained at time of trial clearly establishes innocence. So, did I do it? I have constantly maintained my innocence. Now, the prosecutors have maintained that they have done nothing wrong, that the police have done nothing wrong, and that I am guilty. Now, where Officer McPhail's family sits, they're upset. They said that the past 2 years have been countless appeals and that it just keeps getting drug out. But what keeps getting drug out to them is fighting for my life for me. You see, and I'm not the only one. There is substantial evidence that Texas has executed 2 innocent people in 5 years. The Georgia Board of Pardons and Parole, they issued a formal apology to the family of Lena Baker. Now, she was executed because she was a black woman who killed a white man while defending herself. So the world is truly as you see it. So again, I ask, where do you sit? Even if you do believe that the death penalty is a good thing, are you willing to put an innocent person to death? The truth is as you see it.